Welcome to episode 8 of the Dual Boot Diaries, the weekly podcast where longtime Windows users try to figure out Linux for daily usage. I'm one of your co-hosts, Adam Patrick Murray.
Hey, I'm Will Smith, and we are definitely not Linux experts. But each week we do go through our experiences using Linux daily, and the whole show culminates in both of us either deleting Windows or Linux from our computer, presumably, and moving on with our lives.
Yeah, this week I got up to some real shenanigans. Oh boy.
Yeah.
But you were actually switching laptops. So you did some hardware configuration. So I kind of want to start with you and go over your homework because, yeah, you've mainly been on that Asus Lunar Lake based laptop since the beginning of this experiment.
S14, which I found out this week the hard way has some, when you Google Asus ZenBook S14 hinge, you get a lot of results from people who are like, man, my hinge started getting weird after a little bit, and my screen stopped working this week. It got a little bit unpredictable. I could kind of jimmy it back and forth, and it would turn back on. At first, I thought it was Linux, but then I switched over to Windows, and it still did it in Windows and the UEFI and the boot process. So, and it's not something you can fix. Like, it's something we would have to ship off. I popped it open and looked at it to see if there was a loose wire or anything. It didn't seem to be user fixable.
Just jiggle some of the wires.
Like, just get your hands up in there. So yeah, that was a kind of kick in the teeth. The good thing is I'd been futzing with that ThinkBook.
ThinkPad. Yep.
Yeah. But the Lenovo ThinkPad is only a 1080p screen. I need a little more juice than that on laptop. So I dug deep into our laptop shelf in the lab and pulled a Dell XPS 13, also Lunar Lake, thinking, I'm just going to pop the SSD from one of these and put it in the other one and see if it works. But then Neri happened. I got excited about Neri. I got hot on that tiling window manager supply.
Oh. Yeah, each time we're in the studio and you have your laptop open, you're just like, hey, check out what I can do over here. And I'm just like, that does actually look pretty good.
Yeah, when I changed the corners from rounded to square, you got real excited on my Windows yesterday.
Well, not just rounded, you went like you like each window you made like an actual circle or more like an oval.
It's an oval. Yeah.
You can really round those corners, man.
You can round.
You want to talk about freedom?
Off.
Yeah. You want to talk about freedom of choice? Wow.
You can do whatever you want. Deep. Yeah. So I did that. Everything seemed to be. I had that up and running on the Lenovo, and I was like, what if I try something I've seen in cartoons? And we had talked about this a few weeks ago. People were talking about how you could just export the list of installed packages, both from Pacman, the main Arch repository software. It's equivalent to like apt-get or RPM or whatever on your Debian or your Red Hat, and then also Paru, which lets me also tap into the Arch user repository, which is like the user package stuff. That's like stuff like Slack and Discord is in there. So I did that. I exported it to a list using the little caret, made my list, caret to a file name, put that on an external drive, and then I used rsync to copy my home folder in its entirety out of the old busted laptop into an external hard drive. And then I went to the new laptop. I installed Neri. I installed Cachy with Neri and put a couple of key packages on there. And then I ran the reverse. I installed all the software that was missing from that list back into the Cachy machine, and I copied the home folder over, and then I rebooted, and it was just like the same machine. It was like the two machines were identical at that point. So, because all of your settings, for the most part, with the exception of a few things like fingerprint sensor, like which apps are allowed to use the fingerprint sensor or the fingerprint sensor on the ThinkPad.
Well, because that's a key log, or that's like a key thing, so that needs to be like per device.
Well, no, it's actually not even that. It's that the fingerprints are saved. I'd have to retrain the fingerprint. That's true, but the what apps are allowed to use the fingerprint sensor is part of PAM, the PAM daemon, which is stored in the settings files for that are in etc/pam.d, and you have to like to use a different auth process rather than just a password, you put some lines in there and it says, okay, you can use the fingerprint sensor too, right? And I hadn't done that on the new machine. So I had to go back and do some of that stuff. I had to change the resolution in the Neri files to match the resolution of this laptop, which was higher than the ThinkPad. Stuff like that. Nothing super fancy.
Well, but this, I mean, yeah, there was a little bit of configuration, but for the most part, you're talking about like magic. Like being able to literally just like pop open the laptop and essentially have it up and running, configured,
took like
almost
15
the same
minutes.
exact way. That's wild.
Yeah, and like no problems. There's been no downside so far. Well, okay. Something else happened though. We got to talk about. Well, okay, hold on. Before we get to that, I want to say I still can't log into the console or the lock screen in Neri using the fingerprint sensor using fprint. Like
What's fprint? I don't.
Fprint is the software package that handles the fingerprint sensor.
And that's a Linux, or is that a kernel thing?
That's a Linux. That's just it's a package that you can install in almost all distros. Like Ubuntu uses that for for this ThinkPad. When IBM ships Ubuntu on it with their special version of the kernel, they have fprint built in. Lenovo, sorry. I'm grandpa coming out over here. So I couldn't figure out which process to authorize to get the SDDM login to work. We're going to talk more about that in a minute.
Okay.
And I couldn't figure out which process to authorize to get the lock screen to work, or even if that'll work. Because usually what happens is like when you put in the right language into the sudo entry in PAM, when you type a command that requires sudo privileges, or you type sudo whatever, it says, hey, type your password or touch the fingerprint sensor, right? Mm-hmm. Which is what you would want. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting any hit the fingerprint sensor prompts, and touching the fingerprint sensor doesn't seem to work in those places. So I got to figure that out still.
I've never got a prompt either. The only time I've ever gotten a prompt is like on the login screen.
Yeah, see, I'm not getting the login screen prompt.
Oh,
you can go into PAM, into the PAM folder, and put your fprint line into the front, and it'll let you do fingerprint for sudo.
For like in the terminal, like it'll say like, wow, okay.
Yeah, you have to use a thing called fprint gross hack. And so
that's a gross hack.
So normally fprint, you have to fail the password first, and then it asks for the fingerprint. But if you wanted to ask for the fingerprint or do the password, either one, you do the gross hack version, and then that works. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, fprint gross hack. Shout outs to fprint gross hack. So I got all that working. I got Noctalia shell installed, which like provides things like the menu bar and the kind of window Chrome, and gives you like a basic settings panel and control panel, like to turn off Bluetooth and turn on Wi-Fi and stuff like that.
So that's not part of Neri.
So this works on top of Neri, and we'll.
Okay.
This is one of our topics for the week: is the software what makes pictures on Linux.
Yeah. Oh boy.
But yeah. So I got all that up and running, and then my little Cachy update thing was like, "Hey, you got some updates." So I was like, "Oh hell yeah, I love updates.
Sweet.
I'm gonna hit the update button."
Yeah,
and
rolling distro, baby.
Yeah, somewhere in the back of my mind, I remembered like the haunting words of people in the Discord on the YouTube comments going, "Rolling distros are scary. You're going to be bitten in the ass one day by the rolling distro." And I was like, beep. Been fine so far. Boom. And then I rebooted the computer on the recommendation of that and got no GUI.
At all. It installed the updates, asked you to reboot.
That was fine. Yeah.
And then when you came back, like
flashing
there was
cursor instead of a UI.
Oh.
Not even a login cursor. So I knew I've walked this road before.
Okay.
And I knew that there's multiple TTYs, there's
out.
multiple shells on the Linux machine, right? So I hit Control Alt F3 to move to one of the other shells, and then I saw a root login like a terminal window on your desktop, right?
Oh, okay.
And I tried to start the shell manually, and that didn't work. And I was like, oh, this is bad. And then I did a bunch of Googling, and I posted some messages on the Level 1 text forums where they told me I didn't understand what I was asking for, which was very helpful. And it gave me more stuff to look at. And eventually I got to a point where I was just like, you know what? I can just reinstall Cachy, copy the files over again, and be right back in business again. No problem. So I did that. So what had happened was Qt which is like a basic underlying library of like widget of display technologies that is used for your window manager and your desktop manager to display things.
Okay.
I'm using Neri. It uses Qt6, and it was using it got updated. And typically when that happens, you also have to update SDDM and the other software that uses that. And the updates for Qt had come, but the SDDM updates had not landed yet. And I was in a state where every time the desktop tried to launch, it just crashed and threw an error. And then it would do that over and over and over again until it was like, hey, I've crashed a bunch. I'm going to stop trying. And then I had a terminal, so I could use like links on my desktop from the terminal.
Go back to MS-DOS, you know?
Also, I got to say, I've been spoiled by alacrity because when I was scrolling through like thousands of packages on the non 3D accelerated console terminal, like the old school terminal.
That's what that was. Okay.
Oh my God, was it slow? Like I could not scroll fast enough. It was insane. So shout outs to alacrity too, I guess. So anyway, I reinstalled Cachy. I did the restore. I didn't run the update this time, and everything seems to be working. So I have the number of updates that are outstanding continues to rise, and I'm just kind of eyeballing them before I hit the button.
Well, can you choose to install some updates and not others, or is it?
Yeah, sure. Like why not?
Well, because you already know that specific one, I don't know, the QT or whatever. Yeah, like has the issue. Could you just say, you know what? Hold off on that one.
I could. Yeah. Okay. Probably. I'm sure there's a way to do that. I don't know. or you Paru.
Well, so then I mean, but what you're just going to wait? No, you're just going to wait.
I'm biding my time. You know. Okay. So the other thing that came out of this is I had clicked the little button in Cachy Hello that says install snapper support, which does the snapshots on ButterFS before and after you install a package. Mm-hmm. And you know, there's a saying when you do backups, when you set up a backup system, you're always supposed to test out the backup system. And so this was really my elaborate way of testing out the backup system and learning that I didn't have exactly the right flag set on the snapper stuff. So I guess for my homework for next week, it's figure out how to make snapper actually work and then test it. So, yeah.
So theoretically, if that happened again and you got just a terminal window, you would be able to go back, like load up that snapshot and go back to before it installed.
Yeah, theoretically, I could have, if I had thought about it, gone back in time and done that. But then I did a bunch of really stupid stuff to try to fix it. Like I tried to roll back manually to the previous version of the Qt files that were installed. And what that did was generate a whole bunch of snapshots, then pushed the one that I needed off of the queue. Mm-hmm. So, when I went back when I was like, oh, right, I installed Snapper. I can just unsnap this and it'll be fine. By the time I had gotten there, Thanos had already done his work and half the Linux was gone. So, yeah. Anyway, lessons learned.
Well, there was something else about updates that happened. What was it? Yesterday when we were in the office?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the ongoing DDoS against the Arch Linux repository?
Yeah, you were like, wait, Paru's down? Why? What is this?
Yeah, I typed
what happened?
Paru and searched for something, and I was like, wow, this is taking a really long time. Usually it's instantaneous, and it was like, I waited like 40 seconds and controlled C, and then I searched for something else, and I waited like 40 seconds and controlled C, and I ran Pac-Man, and that was fine. I was like, what the hell's going on? So I went to the Arch webpage, and it looked okay, and the top news item was like from August, and it was like, hey, we're under a sustained and ongoing DDoS attack. And then I went over to the AUR, and that just didn't load at all. So presumably when Paru was trying to hit the AUR to get the list of installed programs and updates, updates for installed Arch user repository packages, it just didn't work. And the weird thing is they have a big long list of mirrors for the core repositories because they're mirrored all over the place. And usually when you hit that repo, when you first set up your machine, it like pings a bunch of them to see what the nearest one to you is, right? Mm-hmm. There's no mirrors for the AUR. It's just the AUR, it seems like. So anyway.
So how many of your applications have you installed through AUR instead of Pac-Man?
6. But let me tell you what they are, and you can tell me if they're important. 1Password, Dropbox, Discord, Slack, and Chromium.
Okay. Well, and why did you choose to install them through AUR instead of Pacman?
Because they don't exist in the main repos because they're closed source. Okay. So they're repackagings of closed source applications that are originally released for like Debian or Ubuntu or Red Hat or something like that. So
do those repackages also exist in FlatHub? What if
probably I could install FlatHub and do them there too? Yeah.
What would happen? Like if you downloaded the Flatpak version, it would just be a completely separate install, right?
I don't know if it would have two. Sometimes if you have applications that are in both Pacman and Paru, it'll say, hey, this one conflicts with this one. Do you want to uninstall this other one? I don't know if FlatHub, I think because of the way FlatHub is containerized, Flatpaks are containerized, I don't think you get that. So I think you could actually have two versions probably running simultaneously, but I bet that's going to have I obviously don't want that for Dropbox because it's going to double up the crap that's on my hard drive.
Yeah.
And I probably don't want it for like Discord, honestly, because normally I want the Electron Discord to launch because it's already slow and janky enough, and putting it in a container is going to make that worse, I think. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't know.
But you're still able to use the applications. You just can't go install or update.
Yeah, everything still launches. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just updates are challenging. And I can update just the individual packages. The thing I don't know how to do exactly is how to update everything except for Qt. But I think looking at the list of updates that are available now, and the AUR seems to be back now.
Okay. Well, that's good news.
I'm looking and there's a bunch of Qt 6.9 to 6.10 updates. But I guess I don't use SDDM on the desktop here. So I use
what's SDDM?
SDDM is the display manager, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Man.
I use KDM because I'm on KDE here instead of Neri on the desktop. So KDM.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
To be continued. Yeah. So last thing is I finally did get to test out Libra pods, which is the thing that you pair with your AirPods. You use your AirPods to pair with, and it does kind of seamless transfer between the Linux machine and your Apple devices, which is really nice because that's the benefit of having AirPods is that you put your phone down and you start using your computer and your headphones just switch over automatically. It also lets you change things like noise cancellation, like the noise cancellation mode, and it does things like automatically pause when you take one AirPod out if somebody comes in and starts talking to you or stuff like that. So,
does this have a GUI?
Yeah,
because I like the idea of changing your noise cancellation mode through the terminal.
Well, so the thing about Neri, Adam, is that you change everything with hotkeys. So you use your super key or your Windows key in the old parlance, and then you press Windows key C to open the control panel, or Windows key Alt B to turn Bluetooth on and off, and all that kind of stuff. So it's all, I can do everything without ever taking my hands off the keyboard.
Look at you.
I know.
You're of the future.
I know. Yeah, no mice. That's 2026. 2025, year of Linux. 2026, the year of getting rid of your mouse. See you, mouse.
I mean, that sounds like Wendell. That's a Wendell.
Wendell's a thought leader on a lot of this, Adam. So
yeah.
And then the last thing is I played a bunch of NextFest demos and was really pleasantly surprised by the general breadth of what worked on both the desktop, and I played a little bit on the Steam Deck too, which is also Linux. But
you haven't tried on the laptop though.
I did not try it on the laptop. No.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just wondering. Yeah.
So if I'm playing games on a mobile device, I'm generally a Steam Deck. Unless I'm someplace and didn't bring my Steam Deck for some reason. So,
and remind me, do you have Neri on the desktop or no?
I'm using KDE on the desktop.
Okay. Has it been weird to switch between the two, or you feel like you're missing some of the Neri stuff on the desktop?
I don't know. I haven't used Neri in a multi-monitor situation yet. So because Neri is that sliding, for people who don't remember, Neri is the sliding tiling window manager. So you have like, instead of having a grid of windows, I mean, you can put them in a grid if you want, but mostly you just, windows keep opening to the right of your other windows and they're full vertical height. And then they're whatever width you set them to. And you kind of keep swiping right or left. And then you got multiple virtual displays, virtual desktops that go up and down. So like, my text communication apps like Slack and Discord are on one row, and Windows browser and Notion and all the kind of writing tools that I use are in one row. And then the terminal and settings panel and stuff like that are in another row. So
I actually really did like that because I've never been somebody who likes virtual desktops. Like, I don't know. It just seems to get, because each one of them is just the same thing, and then you're kind of organizing them differently. I liked this one because it was at least the same structure. Yes, you're going to a different desktop, but the windows just behave. I mean, you can make them behave however you want to, but it seemed a little bit more structured than just like a desktop with just floating windows wherever you want to put them, if that makes sense.
And with the trackpad, unlike on the desktop where you're hitting like the Windows key and tab to switch between desktops or whatever, on the laptop with the trackpad, you just swipe 3 fingers up or down to go between those rows, right? So it's and use the same 3-finger swipe horizontally to move back and forth along the row. So it's a really, really instantaneous, transparent, easy to like it's just making the verb that you're already using to go side to side, giving it another axis. Basically, it's really good.
Like it is one thing that I've looked at what you've been doing, and not only was impressed, but was like, oh man, I kind of like that organization, like of the way the windows are organized.
The thing I'll say, and I'm just starting to get into the Noctalia stuff. So the Noctalia stuff adds like, by default, Neri is really bare bones. Like it doesn't include like a control panel or anything like that. All of your settings happen in a text file.
Okay, never mind. I'm out.
And when you change that text file, when you save it, it like automatically updates the UI. Like it just refreshes every time it sees it save. Okay. The Noctalia stuff adds another layer of kind of like it adds the stuff that you think about as like GNOME or KDE on top of that Neri metaphor for displaying windows, right? Like by default, Neri is just, hey, we're going to display windows and give you some real basic controls for doing stuff. And you need other tools. There's other things. There's a thing called Dark Shell. There's some other stuff that works on top of Neri or Hyperland if you just want the non-scrolling tiling window manager.
And they're not fighting each other. You're not like having instances where Neri wants to control the windows in one way and
no. So like when you saw me when I was first setting this up, and you were like, "Why do you have 2 bars at the top of your monitor?" It's because the way bar, which is what Neri ships with, was still turned on, and I hadn't turned it off yet. So like if you want an oops all Yahoo toolbar as Linux UI, you can do that, right?
That's what it looked like. Yeah,
it looked very much like that. But yeah, so. You control what happens where, and like the Neri validator will throw an error in your, if you have like, for example, if you bind the same hotkey to 2 different things, it'll pop up a message that says, hey, you're using control. Actually, it's not this clearly written, but it pops up a message that indicates that you're using Control Super L in 2 places, right? And then you have to go and change one of those from Control Super L to Super Alt L or something like that. But like generally speaking, the metaphors that they ship with it by default on Cachy are pretty sane. So like Windows key Control 2 moves the window that's currently focused to the 2nd row, right? Windows key Control 3 moves it to the 3rd row. Super plus right arrow, super plus left arrow move the active window left or right. Stuff like that. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's still funny to me. Like we're still we're 2 months in now of this journey, and like I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I feel like you're like going leaps and bounds down the rabbit hole, and I'm still just like I'm like, oh, that looks cool. I have a better understanding of how that works now, but I just kind of want things to just be super simple, and I like that kind of complexity scares me. Well, personally,
I think it's also a difference in workflows, right? Like I do mostly writing on my laptop, Like I'm writing and consuming and watching video, talking to people and writing. That's and maybe some light photo editing, light image editing, but I don't really have to worry about video editing and stuff like that on my laptop. And I don't really play a lot of games on my laptops. So it's predominantly a fancied up word processor with a browser attached most of the time. And in that context, it's a lot easier for me to make that switch over, I think.
I mean, but for laptop, I'm doing the same. Like, yes, I did a little bit of video editing, like at that last trip in Germany, but like that was an outlier. We have other people that handle video edits for me. Thank you. And so, yeah, well, but I know the thing is like, and maybe this goes back to the whole documentation thing, but like you keep adding complexity and maybe the way that you have things kind of organized, maybe something breaks and you don't know how to fix it. Or maybe here's the other real thing is that I'm switching hardware so much that like I'm still in the Windows land where I know this is different on Windows. You can do OneDrive or whatever, but every time I set up a new piece of hardware, I don't want to use OneDrive. I don't want to like sync everything. Like, so I actually, in that sense, I do like the fact that you were able to transfer from machine to machine with just a physical drive rather than saying, oh, hey, I'm signing into my Windows account. And then, oh, it's going to download everything from OneDrive and it'll be like the same thing. I don't want to use the cloud-based stuff. So maybe I just need to try this out and figure out like, oh, there's a better way of doing it.
Well, it's one of the things, like there's a bunch of different ways people handle this. And some of it is, hey, we store our stuff in OwnCloud or on a NAS someplace or whatever. And like, you just have a process that rsyncs your home folder up to the cloud when you're waiting to log in or diffs. It just pulls the differences in the folder down and then it sends them back up when you log out. Right. So it adds a minute or two to the log out and log in, but it means that you can keep your home folders in sync. I think that really works best probably if you have the same OS and same configurations on multiple machines. Like I wouldn't want to have, like if I did that with my home machine, then my Neri config is going to be wrong because my monitor configuration is different here than it is on the laptop, right? So I'd have to figure out weird exclusions and stuff like that. But the nice thing about how this works is because most of the settings are saved in that .config folder in your home directory, as long as your username as long as your home folder is the same and you copy everything over into the same place, it kind of just works in a really like, I was really assuming you also have to have the same software installed, I guess, is the other big gotcha. But yeah, well, I was really pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. And hey, you know what? I'm actually working on a project where I might need to actually dive into this stuff. But yeah, like my brain is still really tied to, man, it is really hard to get stuff from one Windows machine to another in a seamless way, other than using OneDrive. Sure, I get that. Or copying a bunch of stuff in a bunch of different areas. And like, sometimes it grabs things, sometimes it doesn't. So
yeah, the thing that I've found is it like using rsync and using the right flags on rsync. I think it's like AYX or something. I can't remember. I didn't have problems where the OS was locking files in my home folder, which is the thing that gets you in Windows, right? It's like if you don't have everything closed in Windows, then something will lock, like you try to copy your app data folder and something will be locked and then you'll miss your Premiere settings file or something like that goofy. And didn't have any of that, haven't hit that so far. So it seems like that worked pretty well. And
also maybe this is just a me problem because of what we do and how much new hardware most people, I would assume, I don't know, let us know in the comments, but I feel like most people, when they have either a laptop or a desktop, they're probably holding on to it for years and years, unless there's some sort of issue.
I mean,
so this is a me thing.
Yeah,
I think I recognize. So,
speaking of you things, what did you get into with homework? Did you figure out your font business?
Me things. Well, so no, but I did figure out the notification bubble thing.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, yeah. So to recap, the app in the dock would show a little notification bubble, and I would go to the application and read the notification, and it would still not clear. And I had plenty of people in the comments and over on Discord, thank you so much, be like, oh, actually, it's probably because you need to clear the notification in the notification shade, or whatever they call it in Ubuntu.
Oh, the little
drop down.
Yeah, the little, and it looks like a bell.
Yeah, and that's what it was. You hit it, and then you clear notifications, and I looked over, and boom, it was gone. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Okay.
So if you'd click that notification to deep link into the Slack message, it would have gone away probably automatically.
Yeah, and that's probably why it was more sporadic for me, because most of the time I just hit X because I'm like, oh, I'll deal with it later. But there are some times where I would hit that notification and immediately go read it. So I think I didn't notice that's when it would clear it. So okay, but I'm glad I figured that out, because that was good.
You're using GNOME, right?
Yes. Yep.
So do you get the thing when you click a link in your browser that when the link opens, or when you click a link in, say, Slack, and it passes that link to the browser, where it pops up a notification to tell you that the browser is ready? Or is that just a Firefox thing?
I don't think I've seen that. No.
Okay. So I'm not using GNOME anymore, as we previously established, but I was getting a really frustrating thing where I would click a link in like Discord or Slack or something like this. And it only happened in GNOME. It didn't happen in KDE, but it would give me a system level notification that like my link had been opened in the browser. And I'm like, I don't need that. I'm good. Turns out, I just want you to open the browser. Put that in the foreground.
I don't remember seeing anything like that. I'll keep an eye out for it. But the only thing like that I get sometimes is when I launch Discord and it does some updates, it'll give me a little thing being like, oh, your updates are ready on Discord. And I'm like, oh, okay. You don't need to tell me that. Just update. Thank you. So, yeah. So yeah, the notification bubble. Thank you everyone who commented on that, because that was baking my noodle for a while. The fonts in Chrome on my Lenovo laptop, I was not able to get around to fixing it because I actually switched laptops again.
What? This is shocking. You switching hardware?
Well, not only that.
This is the first worldiest episode of this show we've ever done. Oh, yeah, my laptop screen stopped working, so I just grabbed another really nice laptop off the shelf and reinstalled real quick.
Yeah. Well, but so here's the thing. Not only that, I also got back to my distro hopping shenanigans.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I've been loving Ubuntu. Yeah. I really have.
Yeah,
but
clearly you're a fan.
Enough people were like, hey, Bazite might be the way you want to go, because number one, it's immutable and it's hard to break something in there. Number two, it already has a bunch of stuff pre-configured for certain tasks. Obviously, it's based on gaming, so it has pre-configured gaming stuff. But there are already some like pre-configured things in there.
Okay.
And also, well, really, it was the fact that I was like, oh, I really don't want to break anything. So like that, I've been good. This ThinkPad, I haven't intentionally broke anything on it, but like the idea of having that fail safe of like, no, you can try really hard, and I'm sure there are ways to do it, but you're not gonna break it just doing normal stuff. And also, I just, if I were to switch over my gaming PC that I have in the living room to a Linux distro, it would be Bazite.
That seems like the right choice. Right?
Yeah. So like if I could have a situation where I'm using one distro across all my devices, Bazite sounds like it would be a good thing. And a lot of people have been like, hey, other work-based stuff like DaVinci or Audacity, things like that should work just completely fine in Bazite. I haven't got there. I haven't tested it, but I like when I grabbed. So the new laptop I got in was that's the other thing. Framework sent over their new Ryzen AI HX 370 based 13-inch laptop. So I was like, okay, well it's new. They sent it over for this project. So what I'm going to put on it, I'm going to put Bazite. That was the first thing I thought of, not Ubuntu. So luckily, I mean, I didn't realize this because when I've installed Bazite on a handheld before, I did the KDE version. The thing that I like about their website and their configurator is that they'll ask you, hey, what hardware are you putting this on? So it'll be like, okay, I'm putting it on a handheld. Okay, which handheld? You know, so like instead of going to a website that says, hey, which version of the distro do you want to download? And here is a brief explanation of which one you want to get. They have little drop down menus that say, hey, where do you want to install this? And Framework was one of the drop down installation things for the Ally. By default, it gave you KDE. So I just thought Bazite had KDE and GNOME wasn't really a thing over there. But no, when I clicked on the Framework 13 option, it gave me the option to say, hey, do you want GNOME or KDE? And I was like, oh, heck yeah, GNOME all the way. And yeah, so I downloaded it, threw it on my Ventoy drive, live booted into it, and was like, oh, cool. Okay, I totally recognize this. This is GNOME, and this is all the things that I like about GNOME that sure are part of Ubuntu, but for the most part, it was already there.
Does that, okay, so Bazite's still based on Fedora Blue, it looks like, right?
Yes, yeah. Which Fedora is based off of Ubuntu. So
no, yeah. Fedora is based off of Red Hat.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh,
shook.
Wow.
Shook.
Okay. Crap. Maybe all the things I like about Ubuntu are just GNOME.
Because you like Fedora.
Oh man, I'm still. I guess I still have a hard time knowing the difference between the distro and the desktop manager.
Well, okay, so that's a whole different thing. But so does the GNOME choice have implications? Can you still run like the Steam desktop, the 10-foot interface and all that stuff?
I mean, it just installed Steam, so I logged in and it gave like you can switch over. Well, I mean, you can switch over to the full desktop. Are you saying? Oh, can you go out to the Steam
OS
like Steam OS? Oh, I don't know.
I think
I guess I haven't tried
that. To have KDE to do that, but I don't know.
You're talking about like gaming mode. Like essentially, it'll be like gaming mode kind of thing. That is a good question. I'll have to look into that. I didn't notice anything on the desktop. I guess when I installed it on my Ally, I did see a shortcut on the desktop. Or maybe I'm thinking of the Steam Deck. Well, now I don't remember.
You're using too many machines, man.
Too many machines. But yeah, there was nothing. I didn't see anything in the settings or pinned to the desktop that said go into gaming mode.
Okay.
So
I think that's a Steam OS thing for what it's worth. I don't think they put that on Bazite. It's been a while since I looked at Bazite though. This is interesting.
I can't remember. So anyway, the other cool thing was that not only did it look like the GNOME I was used to, it came pre-installed with a bunch of packages in the extension manager that like things that I was using anyway to manage Windows. They didn't have dash to dock pre-installed, which I was surprised because
that's the thing that lets KDE apps show up in the dock. Is that right?
GNOME, like it allows like. Because by default, there's like literally nothing on the home screen, and you have to get to the dock. You have to swipe up, or at least on the laptop, 3-finger swipe up to see a dock. I like having a dock ever present, so I installed Dash to Dock as an extension. So I was surprised it wasn't already in there, but yeah, a lot of those things were already in there that I wanted. So I didn't have to go, and be like, oh crap, what was that extension that I had on Ubuntu? Like a lot of the extensions that I was already using was in there, so that was nice.
It's really interesting. I mean, I think we talked about Immutable OSs a lot when we were talking about Bazite and Hollow ISO and all that stuff a year ago. At this point, probably on a different show. But the benefit of the immutable stuff is that the core. It works like OS 10 does, actually. So the core OS files are delivered as an image, and that is updated automatically on a kind of regular cadence. But you don't have the problem that I have, where like you get a version of Qt that's updated, and it's the downstream dependencies don't support the right version, and then your stuff doesn't work. Like they only dump the image. it gives them a testable version of the OS that they can test against it and release on a more deliberate cadence. So it's kind of it's another version of best of both worlds between rolling distro and like traditional LTS like Debian or Ubuntu LTS or something like that. Long-term support. Sorry.
Yeah, because the safeties are built in long-term support, but you also don't get updates quicker. So this is kind of a middle ground, and once again, that is something that I really appreciated about this. So hopefully I can use this as a daily driver, because I actually want to do something crazy with it.
What?
I have come up with an idea, and it's a really stupid idea, but hopefully it should work. Is where, I have a framework desktop here. Now I have a framework 13-inch laptop here. They sell expansion cards, storage expansion cards that you put into that whole snapping expansion card thing that Framework is known for. And I was like, well, wouldn't it be really cool if my Linux distro just lived on that drive, and that's all I had to take to and from work. Maybe the laptop stays at work and the desktop stays at home, and I just plug it in, and there it is. I boot into that, and that's what I need. And then, I'll still need Windows for dual booting stuff, but so that's the goal. And once again, talking about first world problems. Yeah. That these devices were sent to me by Framework.
Yeah, your $6,000 worth of hardware is going to be like a docking station for a USB thumb drive.
But I mean, it's kind of similar to what you were talking about, of like being able to share home folders or like bring devices to and from. And like, this is theoretically, I mean, this is just a USB based plug. Supposedly you can literally just plug this into any device, and it's just external storage.
I tried that on my, I tried to boot off of it on my XPS, and that it didn't go well, but it could have been that I was doing something else weird. They've done a bunch of engineering on those USB ports so that that you can charge through the ones that have USB pass-throughs. The one that you're using is essentially like a 512 gig SSD or 1 terabyte SSD.
I think this is 1 terabyte. Yeah, they come in two flavors. I think it's 256 and 1 terabyte.
Yeah, and it's a 1 terabyte USB-C, pretty good performing SSD. It seems like.
And so the goal, and I've been able to search around a lot for this, of like, can you boot off of that drive? And man, I see there's a lot of forum posts about this, and there's a lot of people being like, this is not a good idea, you shouldn't do it. And then a lot of people who are like, I've totally heard that people do it all the time, but I've seen very little of anybody being like, I did it, and this is how I did it, and this is what you need to do to configure it. Because so far in us messing around with this, it hasn't been super straightforward.
Well, so I think I did some thinking, because I spent some time working on this yesterday for you, and then I spent some time thinking about it last night. I think that the problem is that if you have a bootloader that will scan USB drives, it will work. But I think by default, the UEFI that ships with both that Framework desktop and that 13-inch Framework laptop don't acknowledge the UEFI partition on a USB drive as bootable. So if you're trying to change boots using the UEFI's boot F12 boot menu, it's not going to ever work. But if you do something like
it wasn't showing up.
Lamind or Refined or Grub on the SSD that's installed in the machine, all of those will look at the stuff on the other drives. I actually didn't try Grub, but I know Lamind will work, and Refined I tested. Then it sees the boot partition on the other drives, and it's like, this is Linux. I know this. I can do this, and it worked fine, because I was able to boot a Cachy install on that drive that I originally set up for the Framework desktop. We plugged it in, and I was able to do it, but it only worked after I put Refined on the boot partition on the C drive, which unfortunately is the Windows boot partition, which means the next time Windows decides it wants to update its boot partition, it's going to nuke your Refined install, and you're going to have to go back and manually reinstall it. Now, there's another way to do this, I think. And chat can tell me if I'm wrong. Sorry, chat, comments, Discord. Please tell me if this is a good idea or a bad idea.
Well, so the idea, what we're thinking of is because the framework desktop can take multiple SSDs, but the idea is to be able to just swap it in and out.
Yeah.
The framework laptop only has room for one 2280 NVMe SSD, and I do not want to dual boot Windows and Linux off the same SSD again.
Because of cowardice, established.
Well, yeah. And so the idea is probably to install Windows on on each of those devices as the main OS.
Well, there's two. Okay,
drive.
so there's
right?
That's my thought, is that you put Windows on the C drive, on the main boot drive. Let it do its own thing. Let it make its own boot partition, and then what you do is you shrink that Windows partition by like 2 gigabytes at the end, and then you use Linux to put another boot partition in that 2 gigabyte spot. And that boot partition is where we're going to put Refined, and then Refined will look and it'll see the Windows boot partition. It'll see the boot partition for Cachy on your other USB drive or whatever
Bazite,
OS you put, Bazite, whatever you put there. And it'll just scan it and it'll be like, okay, I know this. I can make this work, and you're good to go. That's my theory.
Okay.
And that way, when Windows nukes the EFI partition, it nukes its, but the Refined one will stay the same, and you should be good to go.
And here, so theoretically, this should work for anyone using a laptop or desktop and a USB stick,
An
right?
external USB. I'd use an SSD probably than a thumb drive, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. But so because I also had that thought, I feel like a while ago of like, man, can't you just put Linux on a USB stick and each device you go into, you have your Linux install right there?
So
it's kind of like Ventoy, but a permanent solution.
Well, so there are a lot of like, this is one of the things I'm sure Mikey uses some of these. They're definitely like USB, they're distros, live booting Linux distros that are built for like troubleshooting broken Windows machines. Yep. So you go in, you plug it in, you boot off of it. It'll let you scan the hard drive. It'll let you recover data off of the hard drive, stuff like that. And those things definitely those exist. So yeah, you could probably also use Ventoy for this too. That's a bad idea though. Don't do that, actually.
So what you would be,
you'd put Ventoy on a partition on your hard drive, which is a terrible idea. I forget I said that. That's a bad idea. Reuse. The nice thing about Refined, the reason I like Refined is out of the box, it scans everything, and it might give you too many options because it'll like let you boot into the Windows Recovery Manager and all that stuff too. But it also includes options for booting directly into the UEFI. So if you miss pressing delete or F2, you don't have to go into Windows and do like the 15-click dance around.
I hate that.
You can basically, it gives you good options for humane booting is what I would say. And you can theme it too if you want. So you can make it all look all fancy and cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. If anybody out there thinks there's a better way to do this, let me know, or has actually done this with multiple framework devices. I know that's probably a limited subset, but I would be curious to hear. The one downside I did see on forums, and I don't know if this is true or not, but people were like, oh yeah, you don't want all those read and writes of a normal OS going to an external drive like that, because it's going to burn out the flash memory in there super quick. There were some people that were pushing back, being like, oh no, the memory controller they have in those devices and the type of storage is actually pretty high quality, so it's going to last. So I don't know. I would love to hear what people think about that as well. But yeah, it's an experiment that kind of reminds me of the thing that I've always chased with eGPUs, of that solution of like, hey, you have one device and that you take to the office or to the coffee shop, and then you go home, you want more power, you plug into an eGPU and you got more power, right? Like everything just stays on one. Like I've always done this dance in Windows where I have a laptop and I have a desktop, and then each one of them updates separately. Some of them have files over here that, oh crap, I need to access over here. And I just hate that. I would love to have one OS that I just take with me everywhere.
So just for the record, they're using the same Phison controller that's in, it's a Phison U17 that's in Crucial X9 portable SSDs. So this is a portable SSD. It's not a USB thumb drive. So it does, presumably it's doing like NAND wear leveling and all that stuff. So you're writing, you might want to set up TempFS for your log files and stuff like that, so that that's a Ask Brad Shoemaker about that.
Okay.
We'll get Brad on to talk.
We got to
about
have Brad on.
the benefits of TempFS.
Add to another thing. Okay.
Like the solution for, hey, I'm writing onto something that, like, this is a well-known problem. It happens a lot on like Raspberry Pis, where if you're constantly doing a ton of small writes to log files, you'll fill up the lifetime capacity of writes for an SD card or a thumb drive or something like that really quickly. And the solution is you make a really small RAM disk that you write like 32K of log files at a time, and then just do, instead of doing 30,000 1 kilobyte writes to that, you do 1 32 kilobyte write to that, and that's much less wear than doing the 30,000 1 kilobyte writes. If that it doesn't make sense, but that's just the way Flash works. So
yeah, okay,
okay,
yeah. So that's Bazite thumbs up. This new project, which is real stupid, to TBD, I guess we will see. But like, also, I'm going to be honest here. Some of these other, like, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be worrying about trying to fix some of my other things that I've been dealing with. Like essentially this whole Windows thing, right? Like I've yet to try WinApps. Like the bigger issue for me is, hey, can I just get rid of Windows completely, right? Those last few edge cases that I still log into Windows that I need are there, and I should be focusing on that, but I'm chasing red herrings because this is more fun, I guess.
I have to say I'm a little disappointed because I don't think they say on their website anymore, and I'm looking at their website now, it doesn't say, hey, you can use this external thing to boot OSs off of.
There was a blog post that I found that somebody had posted that says, oh yeah, and it's even bootable.
They've definitely said that in the past, and it is, as far as maybe it boots with Windows, but I tried multiple Linuxes and a bunch of different stuff and couldn't get either the current Gen 13 AMD model or the framework desktop to boot off the USB drive. Like I even pulled all the NVMe SSDs out to see if it was just like, it just shows nothing to boot to, but it sees nothing to boot and throws an error that's like, hey, you need to have something to boot to. So
anyway. I did reach out to Framework to see if they have any official guidelines. So they have not gotten back to me yet, but I need to get back to de-windowing my life, because I actually have had the problem now where I don't have Windows on this. I configured Bazite just to make sure Bazite worked on here, and I liked it. But now I'm going to do this other setup. And yesterday we were shooting another video, and I was like, oh, I got to go make charts in Excel, and then I have to print them. And I was like, okay, well, I need Windows to go into to make the charts that I want out of Excel, and the printing, I have not solved that headache like you did on the Linux side. So I was like, you know what, crap, I need to switch back to my Lenovo just to get back to Windows. I hate that I'm still reliant on Windows, but it is
screaming back to daddy. I see how it is.
I know. Yeah. It's hard. So
speaking
I need to figure that out.
Speaking of things that are hard.
Yes.
I would like to talk about the software, what makes pictures on Linux computers.
Okay, please.
Because I did not understand this, and it's something we've talked about a lot, and I think clarity would be good. Yes. So I found a Stack Exchange post after I posted on the Level 1 text forums, and the response from a very nice user there was like, oh no, you're telling me what your display server and window manager are, but I need to know what your display manager is. And I was like, what the hell is a display manager? So then I did some research, and I ended up in the Stack Overflow post. And so the idea is there are 4 things that make pictures work on your Linux computer, right? There's the display server, which is
other than it's not the kernel or the distro. It's the
distro is a collection of choices. Like the distro is just a collection of choices. The kernel is the thing that makes this software run, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But then this software, starting at the bottom, the lowest level stuff, there's Xorg, Xfree, and X11, and I assume Wayland is in this too, although it's not on the list, are display servers. This is just what makes a picture draw, period.
Okay.
Then there's display managers, or sometimes called a login manager. This is the first X program that's run by the system, which allows you to log onto the local system or to the network if you're on a networked system. So this is what pops up the first screen that says, hey, do you want to log in? Okay. Like So that's
and that's why you're able to switch between X11 and Wayland there, because neither of those have gotten into effect. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that runs after the display server, but before the window manager, which controls the placement of decoration of windows, which is things like the Chrome that lets you drag it around, the window Chrome that lets you drag things around and resize windows. It lets you like the taskbar. I think probably is I think it's how the taskbar is placed, not maybe what's inside the taskbar, if that makes sense, or whatever your metaphor is of choice. So these are things like some of these are standalone, like Window Maker and Sawfish and FVWM, but some of them also depend on an accompanying desktop environment like GNOME or KDE or whatever. And then the desktop environment are suites of applications that integrate well with each other to provide a consistent experience on top of that window manager. So that's your GNOME, your KDE, etc. So I hope this adds a little bit of clarity. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. Blame the Unix and Linux Stack Exchange post that I guess we'll put in the show notes. But I thought this was very helpful because I did not know that there was. I did not know about so for example, with Neri, I'm using a thing called SDDM, which is a something display manager, and it's a lightweight display manager. But I had to, in order to get it to use the same resolution as my desktop, I had to change some config files on that as well, because it boots into a GUI, and then I would log in and the screen would go black for a second, and then it would switch over to the desktop manager the window manager that I had chosen, and launch Neri and Noctalia and all that stuff. So anyway.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Also,
it does help a little bit.
Also, I'm not running Linux on my laptop. I mean, I'm not running Windows on my laptop anymore.
Let's get to this in a second. The question I have is, does all this exist in Windows? It's just we've never had to think about it or worry about it because you can't change each one of those individual elements. I
think there are analogs probably for all of this in Windows, but they're not really exposed to the user. So like you think about stuff like you've seen shell programs that will replace your, like in Windows, when the Windows 8, the bad days of Windows 8, when everybody hated their bad full screen start menu, you could download a piece of software that would replace their crappy software, their crappy start menu with like a Windows 7 style start menu, right? And it was called a shell. It was a shell replacement. And what that's doing is replacing a part of the Windows shell. Now, those are invariably janky as hell because Windows is not built to replace bits and pieces of the Windows of the shell. With Linux, there's built-in APIs so that your display manager can talk to the display server, and your window manager can talk to the display server and the display manager, and your desktop environment can draw windows however it wants. And as a result, like you can mix and match. Like if you're good at this, my understanding is that with some limitations, like you can run the GNOME display manager and put KDE on top of it. You're crazy. It's a bad idea for a whole multitude of reasons, but I'm sure somebody does that just because they can, right?
Why not?
Or you can run GNOME on top of one of the more generic window managers. It's probably something that more people are more likely to do. Maybe they like Sawfish better than the GDM, and they like the GNOME window Chrome and the GNOME control panel and the extensions and stuff that they provide. So yeah, like I think the fundamental difference is that this is designed to be extended by users. And with Microsoft, it's designed to shovel ads into your space to sell you copies of Office and OneDrive space.
Yeah, I think that's the theme of this whole show. But for the most part, I'm trying to figure out analogies to what I'm already used to in Windows land. And for the most part, these analogies probably exist, but you can never really mess with them too much. Or it's like, hey, don't worry, we got the whole thing taken care of. It's Windows. You get what is it? Loose in your harness, or you get a little bit of freedom in your harness. But that's about it. Where here it's like, oh no, the all the different levels working together. You're understanding how an operating system works. I mean, I think for somebody like me, it's cool to understand, but hell no, I'm not going to go in there and try to mix and match any of this stuff. But
I don't think you need to know how this stuff works unless you're running a rolling distro and you update something that requires SDDM to have a different version of Qt, and then you're like, well, which part of this is broken? And then you're like, oh wow, there's whole parts of this that I didn't know existed, and then here we are doing a podcast.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, thank you. Yeah. Now I want to get back to your last proclamation, because we haven't checked in, I don't think, in the past couple of weeks of like where we're at, where we're feeling. I think it's been pretty obvious that I'm still clinging to Windows, but yeah, you on your laptop specifically, you're like, you don't even need Windows on your laptop anymore.
Podcast is over, baby. We're done. Dual Boot Linux wins.
No, because you still need it on your desktop.
Oh, crap.
That sounds like it, right?
Yeah, I can't play Battlefield 6 on Linux, it turns out.
Okay, yeah. But on your laptop, like that seems to be like one of the last sticking points is gaming.
But I don't really game on the laptop, so it's zero. Okay. It's zero hassle for me to like, look, this is the lowest stakes thing I've ever dropped. I don't think I booted into Windows on that Asus laptop for the last, like, since we started doing the podcast, probably maybe once. When I think when it was crashing, I booted over once to Google something to figure out how to get back into we talked about it in like episode 3 when the file system had a corrupted flag and I had to figure out how to clear it. I went over and looked up that command, took a picture of my laptop screen with my phone, and then rebooted and typed that command in, and everything was fine. But yeah, I didn't bother putting Windows on the XPS when I set it up, because it turns out it hasn't been a problem. If I need it, I have a thumb drive with Ventoy, and it has a 24H2 install on it that I can put on in a pinch if I need it. But I'm not anticipating any further forays into Windows with that laptop.
That's crazy.
How does it make you feel?
That's I mean, like I wish I could be there. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Yeah.
I believe, Adam. I believe you'll get there.
I mean, but like thinking about it realistically, I bet I could get there on the laptop sooner than the desktop.
I think my hunch is that given that I play Fortnite with the same friends that I've played video games twice or 3 times a week with for the last 8 years at this point, I think it's pretty unlikely that I'm going to be full-time on Linux as long as Fortnite doesn't work on Linux.
Wait, right? So this podcast is never going to end then?
I mean, maybe it's a forever podcast, Adam.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Look, you got to get that beard grayer and longer. You know, you got to get up there. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's all I boot over for, right? I think there's a future where that's the only thing that's running on Windows. It's just a great little tiny SSD with a great big honking 130 gig Fortnite install.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for homework for next week, what are you working on?
I figured out my locking problem. I want to talk about that more, because Neri gives you granular control over this, but I'll share about how I got the laptop to lock. I want to figure out the fingerprint sensor. Figure out the fingerprint sensor, figure out Snapper and test it. So I'm probably going to do that on the laptop first, because it's easier to restore if I mess something up. And then I'm going to roll those changes out to the other machine to the desktop machine. Because I think I was assuming that the Snapper configuration was a little bit more turnkey than it probably is. And I have to configure some stuff in order to be able to actually roll back those Snapper changes easily, it seems like.
Also, your webcam isn't working on that Dell, right?
Oh yeah, Dell webcam.
Yep.
That might be a deal breaker on that Dell, if I'm being honest, because
really?
It looks like it's going to be when I read the instructions, it was like, you got to get the OEM kernel, and I was like, I don't want to run the OEM kernel. I'm running a Cachy, so I can have a real kernel, and so I'm going to have to do some investigation.
Like you need to have the webcam on the laptop. It's like a deal breaker.
I mean, I do a lot of meetings.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I could bring a external webcam and plug that in.
Then you'd look like a professional.
Yeah, I'll just get my ring light and a couple of tripods too. So when I'm sitting in Starbucks, I'm that guy.
You're that guy. All right. And the printer. Don't forget to bring your printer and hook it up.
So hold on. So I got talk about locking on Neri, figure out the fingerprint sensor on login, the Dell webcam fix, and Snapper. And then I also do want to install Resolve, because like not being able to edit it. And maybe I was looking, Blender has a pretty robust video editor these days by all reports. Like they edited big chunks. I think that their cat movie that they released last year. That one was nominated for an Oscar.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
I want to say that they edited that in Blender. So like it wasn't just rendered in Blender. It was also edited in maybe they did post in something else, but like
Interesting.
So I'll look at Blender and see what their video editor is like, because I've been meaning to for a long time. Okay. And that's it.
Well, yeah. I'm pushing off a lot of things, obviously, to try to get the right hardware set up. But man, yeah, if I could really figure out a solution where it's like, hey, I have one distro that I can just take with me anywhere, or switch to different hardware with, then that would be awesome. So we'll see. I'm curious to hear if anybody out there has that situation.
You need to just commit, man. You got a buck. You just get a Bowflex. Just stop messing around. Stop faffing around. Get in there and sink your teeth into something, buddy. Just get in it.
Well, listen, I thought I was done checking out other distros, but then Bazite hit me.
Yeah, there's a meme for this. There's the meme with the girl and the other girl and the guy. You're the guy, and the girl beside you is every other distro you've ever tried, and like new shiny. I mean, I can't say anything. I just switched everything to Neri the other day, so I'm
come on, you're doing the same thing. Yeah,
but like this is. You give a man choice, he's going to make choices. That's how this works.
People kept telling me like, hey, dude, you need to settle on one. You're doing it the hard way. And I tried to settle on one, and then
what if you get real good at porting your home folder around? Then you're learning something useful along the way of all your indecision.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing. There's got to Anyway, all right. Well, that's wraps it up for today's show. I think we're going to leave it there. We still need to post the interview that I did with Mikey. That is outstanding. Sorry, we had some issues on editing, so that one's taking a little bit longer, but hopefully that'll post next week.
Was it a lot of swears? Did you have to take out all the swears Mikey did?
No. We've been busy editing other stuff, and we had the long weekend, so our editing queue is really deep. So we'll get to that. We do have. We do have Brad Shoemaker waiting in the wings for him to join us. So I think we'll maybe have him in an upcoming episode, just a normal episode, kind of like we did with Wendell, where we're going over our homework and stuff like that, and then maybe talk about a couple topics he wants to talk about. But yeah, I would also love to hear his solution for what I'm trying to figure out, because he probably has a very convoluted idea on how to do something.
Look. Sorry, you have to remember, Brad wanted to try a bunch of different distros, and his thought was he wanted to install the different distros in different ButterFS snaps, so you could just switch back and forth between them at will.
There you go.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Perfect. Just like this podcast, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And please share this podcast with your friends. If you think there are other people out there who are like me and you that want to switch out, get Windows out of their life, and you think the Linux is a good fit, share this with them.
By the time you hear this, Windows 10 will be dead.
Well,
dead, dead, Adam.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Definitely
buried and in the ground.
Gone from the earth.
So if you have a Windows 10 machine that you can't upgrade to Windows 11, you're living on borrowed time, buddy. It's time to get on the Linux train. Put the fear in them and send them our way. We'll set them straight.
Yeah. And if you can, leave us a review on any of the podcast apps that you listen to, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music. We get awesome comments coming in. I really appreciate it. And anytime you review a podcast, that helps the algorithm and get us discovered, that kind of stuff. So
I think, we're not experts, but I think maybe one of the things we could do, I think a Q&A episode would be really interesting to try. I don't know exactly how that'll work with us.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to do some research and figure some stuff out and talk through some solutions with the big brains in the Discord maybe, and then congeal all that into some nuclear hot takes that we can put up in podcast form.
Nuclear hot takes.
Yeah. But we're getting a lot of really good feedback, but we're also getting a lot of good questions from folks, and I want to figure out a way to bring them more into the main podcast loop.
For sure. So anyway, thanks everybody. Check back next week for your fix of Linux talk, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.